Hello, everybody. It's Maurice Philogene, your host of the Try Life On podcast, and I'm here today with my man Rob Stein. And we were just talking. Rob is down in the great state of Texas. I just came back from there, so I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm always touching Texas nowadays, or something like that. But anyways, Rob, welcome to Try Life On.
Maurice, thank you. It's an honor to be here, man. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to have you. Me and Rob got the same haircut and stuff. We're already brothers.
That's right.
So I was saying, I'll go back and do a little bit of intro stuff, Rob, but can you tell folks a little bit about yourself? We're going to talk about impossible to fail for a little bit, but all my Try Life On army out there are always interested in the mindset of people on how they're running their business, their life, their framework, their family.
Yeah.
Maybe you can give us a little bit of background on who you are, and we'll get into your story a bit.
Absolutely. And again, thanks for having me. You know, it's a story that if I can do it, man, anyone can do it. I started out as a middle school music teacher. Even 10 years ago, that's what I was doing. And if you would tell me I'd be where I am now in 10 years, I'd be like, what are you talking about? But music is my first passion. I have a bachelor's in trumpet performance, emphasis in jazz studies, jazz trumpet player, and a master's in education. Mm-hmm. And I started out teaching. I've always had a great passion for teaching, helping others learn and accomplish what they want to. I quickly realized I love teaching, but I don't love teaching public school quite enough to do it for an entire career. Right. At that point, I started my first business, which is called Standing O Marching, in writing music for highly competitive marching bands. Marching band is the activity that really lit my passion for music. I'm still very passionate about it. And that was the business that it took me 8 years to build, but I built it to the point where I was making about 5 times my teaching salary, and I quit teaching to run my business full time. It was extremely challenging, took way longer than I thought, way more work than I thought it would, but it was extremely rewarding to be able to build that. And once I realized the freedom and the life that could come from really stretching yourself, aligning with the right people, and not letting anyone tell you anything is impossible, and realizing if you want something, there is a way. You just got to figure it out and be willing to do what it takes to get there. And so from there, I got into shape. I used to be quite overweight and out of shape, and went from that to being a championship winning bodybuilder. Wow. And eventually eventually started a real estate company. We moved from New Jersey. When I say we, it's me and my endlessly supportive wife, Katie. We moved from New Jersey, where we were both born and raised, and that's all we knew. And we moved to Texas about 4 years ago, got our licenses, dove into real estate in a sea of over 20,000 other agents. But through a lot of hard work and grit and education, built our business big time. And within a couple years, became one of the top 5% producing agents in the country. Yeah. Now I own an independent brokerage. We have 10 agents. We're one of the top 5% brokerages in the country. And I've really also fell into coaching agents, entrepreneurs all over the country, realizing that so many of the principles of success, regardless of the industry, are so universal. Yep. And that's what my biggest passion is, helping people that are in the position I used to be in, that want to achieve more, and they really just need the how, and they need to understand why, figure out what's holding them back, teach them how to get past it. And there's no more fulfilling feeling than that, still being able to educate people in something that's so substantial, helping them really take control of their life.
I love it, man. And what I love more so, and I just told you a little bit about my background. My crew knows it, right? I was IT executive for 20 years, a police guy for 15 years, a federal agent for 22 years, real estate for 25. When you talk to your resume, it's not a resume, man. It's your life journey. When you gave us a window into your life journey, and I'm appreciative of that. You said teacher, bodybuilder, real estate, music, now coaching. There is some level of like fear for people who are trying to jump into that next venture where they feel their life journey should go. And somehow you did it. I was wondering if you could just touch on what the mindset was for you, or maybe what the fear was, or did Katie push you over the edge? What was it that got you to shift from one thing to the next like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Fear is a really big topic. And there is always some kind of fear that is holding people back. In my book that I have coming up, I've broken down fear of failure into 4 subcategories that I have found. I was just on a walk one morning thinking, fear of failure is such a broad term. It's very wide. It's very deep. There's got to be more than that. And I was trying to peel it back, and I came up with 4 subcategories. And I would encourage the listeners to really think, when you have something, as Maurice is saying, that you want to do, but you're being held back, I guarantee you it is one or a combination of these 4 things that's holding you back. So first, fear of imperfection. We all have it, right? No one likes doing things they're not good at. And I think when we're children, when we're kids, like, that's not as much of an issue. When we're adults and we've developed a skill set, and that's when we start worrying about other people's perception, and we get very uncomfortable doing things we're not good at. But the reality is, perfection is possible in certain things, but you can't get there until you start doing the thing that you want to do. And you just need reps and experience. So it's fear of imperfection. Next, we have fear of the unknown. Fear of the unknown can be really scary. I mean, when we were talking about moving from New Jersey to Texas to start a real estate company, we were both middle school teachers. And so moving halfway across the country, doing something completely different, for sure, there's a lot of fear of the unknown there. Yeah. Now, the good news about fear of the unknown is it's actually a survival mechanism, right? Our ancestors survived from fearing the unknown. And so it's normal to feel that way. But what you must realize is it's also in the human spirit to fear the unknown and still conquer it, to explore it and conquer it anyway. So that is also in you to be able to conquer that. And you must remember that it's been done before. And chances are you're not trying to do something that's never, ever, ever been done.
Someone's done it all.
Exactly. So you can rest assured that not only can I do this, other people have done it. There is a path. There is fear of judgment, which is also very universal and a survival mechanism, because, again, going back to our, hunter-gatherer days, which really in the grand scheme of human evolution has been the vast majority of our existence, and still pretty much the blink of an eye over the past few hundred years. Also a survival mechanism, because you had to be able to get along with your tribe, with your community, to survive. So fear of judgment is understandable. Yet, the reality is, most of the people that we fear their judgment are people we don't even know. We're just worried about what will they, like the infamous they, the world.
Who are they?
and the reality is, most of those people are too busy thinking about themselves to even care about you. And so, again, you need to be able to get past that. And then the last one is fear of sacrifice. Fear of sacrifice, meaning being willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to get you to where you want to go. So I'll give you an example now how this applied to me. It was a combination of all of those things for me. So, for example, fear of sacrifice, right? I built my first business while I was teaching. I had to give up a lot, right? I had to sacrifice time with my family, time with doing other things that I wanted to do, to work, to build my business, building my real estate career here. There were many times that I would look out my window in this office, looking at my neighbors hanging out outside, having drinks on a Sunday, being like, man, that looks awesome. And then I had to turn around and get back to work. Now, that's not a forever thing, but the reality is, if I want to get what I want, it's necessary now. And so being willing to do, what it takes now, especially coming from teaching. I remember when I told all my coworkers that I was leaving my teaching job to do my music business full time. And it was universal. Everyone's response, Rob, how could you do that? You have tenure, you have a pension, you've worked, you went to college for this. You've got all this student loan debt, and you have this job security, these beautiful golden handcuffs at 52 grand a year. Maybe you'll get to 70 grand a year after 30 years. And you're going to, you're going to leave that. How could you do it? Now, the reality is, everyone that said that had their own dreams and their own aspirations, but because of those fears that were holding them back, we all have the same fears. Yet I chose to take action. And they chose to project their fear onto me because they can't imagine themselves taking that action. But the reality is that the possibilities are the same for everybody. So for me, there was a lot of fear. But what the thing that really helped me, Maurice, was when I started networking with other entrepreneurs. So in the music, the marching band music world is not a very big entrepreneurial community. It's very, very small. Once I got into real estate, though, that was when I started going to like networking groups and seminars and conferences. and saying, oh my gosh, I'm surrounded by so many motivated, like-minded people.
Yes.
And it was the first
Yes.
time in my life when they said, what are you trying to accomplish? And I told them, they said, you can do it. I did it. You can do it. How can I help you do it? Versus the people I was used to, the teachers that said, that's ridiculous. Who can, right?
Yep. I gotta call that out.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks for breaking down failure into those 4 parts. So this is important for y'all. You need to be out there with a pen right now.
Yep.
Failure, fear of imperfection, fear of the unknown, fear of judgment. We all have it. And fear of sacrifice.
Yes.
I do want to highlight that fear of sacrifice because you did have to spend time. You had to create time, manage time, protect time to be able to start your business.
100%.
In my journey, it was being an IT executive during the day, wanting to be a street cop at night to give back. So that was a sacrifice because I did it. Definitely not for the money, just like a teacher.
Yep.
And then doing my real estate stuff on the weekend. So when everybody was going out, I was always doing the tenants, termites, and toilets thing. But
I love
now I'm okay with the real estate stuff. So I thought that was awesome. But the biggest thing that popped out about me, about what you said, and there's no dig on your colleagues or teaching community, but one of the things I always talk to my people about is if you're going to try life on, if you're going to go after the types of things that Rob went after, then you probably don't want to necessarily go get motivation or advice from someone who's never done it.
No doubt.
Because those people are constantly pulling you. And the interesting thing that you said, and I'd like you to just expand on a little bit, is when you started getting into the real estate side of the house and interacting with people, you all of a sudden had all these people who are motivated and pushing you forward. And I tell people all the time, every time I go to real estate conferences, I don't even go there necessarily for real estate as much as I want to be around people who are trying to do bigger and better for themselves.
Yes.
That's the benefit of those conferences.
Yes.
So did that really shift you and push you forward, not just on the real estate stuff, but everything else?
Oh man, great observation. Absolutely. 100%. And in the upcoming book, there's a chapter called Finding Your Tribe, which is all about surrounding yourself with those type of people. I mean, my whole impossible to fail framework, the foundational pillar is getting the blueprint, meaning whatever you're trying to do, find someone that's done exactly that. And just soak in everything they have, whether it's books, YouTube, conferences, one-on-one coaching, their products, because that's going to be the fastest path to success. And then the Finding Your Tribe is about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I mean, Jim Rohn obviously said, you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And there's definitely something to be said to that. The reality is, I'm always making a point at least once a month to go to a conference where there's going to be people like that, because it just charges me up. And I also talk about the fact that, there's great content from whoever's presenting on stage, but my best moments have come from the drinks and the dinners, conversations in the elevator, in the hallway.
Right.
That's where the magic happens. And I'll tell you that actually the catalyst to move from New Jersey to Texas came from an event like that, because we were born, but my wife and I both born in New Jersey, different parts, but our whole family, all of our families were there. My family had been there for like 40 years. Her family had been there forever. We were both born and raised there. Everything we knew was there. So the prospect of like, if we ever even considered, why don't you move? The instant gut reaction is like, oh, we can't do that. And it stopped there. Yeah. And we were at a dinner with some real estate entrepreneurs that we were doing some stuff with. And one of them, it was when we were getting ready to start, we started out investing. And then my dad's always been involved in real estate, started investing with him. And then I said, hey, real estate is the way. Let's get our license. Let's really make a go of this thing. So these were people that knew we were about to start our real estate journey. And one of them said to me, where's your happy place? And we originally, Colorado Springs, we were thinking about moving to, because we honeymoon there and we vacation there and we love it there. I'd never been to Austin. Ultimately, we wound up moving here, but we talked about Colorado and she was like, well, why don't you move there? And I was like, oh, we can't do that. And she was like, well, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Well, I mean, our families and this, and I started talking about all the reasons. And she wasn't pushing me or contradicting. She was just giving me some different perspective that I never thought about before. And I don't think I ate a bite of food after that. It was at a dinner and it was about an hour and change. We had this conversation. And when we were done, I just kind of was staring blankly, and Katie sees me. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, we gotta talk. And so we had driven from New Jersey to Florida for that event. I broke down the conversation for her at that night. We didn't stop talking from that night, a day and a half in the car. By the time we got back to New Jersey 2 days later, we were like, we're moving.
Just
right?
like that. But did you move to Colorado? Or did you move to Texas? Where you on?
So we were thinking about Colorado, and I actually went over there in the fall. We'd been there 6 or 7 times in the summer. I went there in the fall. And quite frankly, you know, we still loved the area, but it was very cold. And I was like, you know what? If we're going to move halfway across the country, let's like not do winter anymore. Let's not do snow and gray and like seasonal depression and like living in black and white 6 months out of the year. Let's not do that. Yeah. And the funny thing is Colorado Springs was always the number 2 place to live, and Austin was always the number 1 place to live. And we said, we owe it to ourselves to check out Austin. Let's go during Christmas break, during Katie's Christmas break. And if we love it in the middle of December, we're going to live there. We stayed here for 10 days. We did not want to come home. And that was when we knew that we were going to move to Austin 6 months later.
And you knew
it. We did. And fortunately, I'm extremely blessed to have a wife that is incredibly, endlessly supportive. And she also has the same mindset I do, in that she's willing to work for what she wants. And we both realized that this is an opportunity for us, and we were surrounded by the right people to help us. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, life was good, but we decided we didn't want to settle for good anymore. And in today's society, you almost feel obligated to settle for good. You almost feel like it's normal to complain about your job and your income. And, you know, you complain about something and people put your arm around you and say, oh, it's okay. But if someone says, how you doing? You say, great. Oh my gosh, I'm doing great. Business is good. We're making money. It's like, oh, you're bragging. It's like you're almost supposed to have something to complain about. But when we started surrounding ourselves with people that go, look at how they're living, look at how they're thriving.
Yes.
And it's not just about making the money. It's about a life and a lifestyle of doing something you're passionate about and being accountable to no one but yourself. And when you surround yourself with that enough people and you realize it's possible, we said, life is good, but we don't want good anymore. We want fantastical, amazing, thriving fantasy land. And we can have it because they all did it. And no one started like that. They all started from square one, just like we are now. And if they can do it, we can do it. And it was actually being around that environment of people that led us to the conclusion that we are capable of the same thing, and we're going to go for it.
Dude, so I'm going to recap the same thing again, because this is going to keep coming up. I mean, people can go ahead and start their own businesses and try and upgrade their lifestyle and what have you. But the game changer always seems to be the circles that we surround ourselves with. Mm-hmm. And not only just the circles, because I don't want it to be just about a business perspective, but just the environment in which you and Katie put yourselves in down there in Austin. In my case, I tend to spend a lot of time overseas. I'm constantly in the Mediterranean. Mm-hmm. Your Austin was my Mediterranean. I worked in Turkey for a year in 2015. That was the Aegean Sea region. Mm-hmm. But if you go a little bit further south, you're on the Med. I found it. And I always thought about, how am I going to get there? Found a way to get there, built a business there, and I'm doing real estate development on Cyprus now. It's not about money. It's the environment. It's people who believe that extraordinary can be ordinary. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you just said that, because a lot of people who are listening to this have the typical self-talk that you just went through. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can't do that. But you get into an environment where everybody's self-talk is totally different. Mm-hmm. And your self-talk starts to change as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it sounds like it affected your business. So tell me a little bit about your business down there, what you're doing and how it's going, since you did make that transition from being a teacher, then your music business, now into the real estate. Yeah.
So it's going beautifully. And what I had learned, especially after, with my music business, the marching band music, there's probably less than 10 people in the world that can make a full-time living doing the same thing I do, like writing music for competitive marching bands that don't have to teach college and don't have to do other stuff, like very, very small. So there really isn't a blueprint for that. Like even today, you can't really hire a coach for something like that. But the cool thing is with bodybuilding, you can. And when I got into bodybuilding, and like, I think anyone can get down to a beach body using the same principles, but if you want to get down to like 3% body fat for the stage, you need an expert. Like that's very different for everyone.
Just since you're saying it, my kid is training to be a bodybuilder right now. So as soon as you said it, I'm like, man, I know that I know that world. He's 23 and he just started 2 years ago.
Good for him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't get into the gym until I was 20, 25. And anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And so it's very overwhelming to think like, especially if you Google how to do that. I mean, there's a billion contradictory things. And so I found a great coach and I hired him, and it was such a great weight lifted off my shoulders. And I was like, all I got to do is exactly what this guy says. It wasn't easy by any means, but just the fact that like, I don't have to worry about analysis paralysis. Am I doing the right thing? What should I do first? How should I go about doing this? The same fears we all have, the fear of the unknown, where we're going to do something new. And I said, I'm just going to do what this guy did. So when we got here to real estate, I said, I'm not going to mess around. I'm just going to go straight to hiring a coach. And so I hired a great coach, and that's why we were able to build so quickly. That's why I was able to become one of the top 5% agents in the country within 2 years. I mean, obviously I had to implement what they said, and make no mistake about it, gang, speed of implementation is the deciding factor of whether you're going to achieve success or not, because I could have had the same coaching sessions and not implemented what he said, and I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. So you must be willing to unquestioningly, well, you can ask questions, but I mean, implement whatever that blueprint tells you to do as fast as you can. But we were able to build that. And so I built a solo career over the course of 2 years. But I always knew the goal was to start a team for a couple reasons. Number one, I just love teaching. I love teaching people that want to learn. And there's a phrase I heard recently at a mastermind I'm a part of. I don't know where it originated, but the phrase is, we find our purpose in life serving the person we used to be.
Oh,
so powerful, right?
Wow, that is powerful.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I love. When I see someone that wants to take control, that says, man, I want more, teach me how to build this skill set to make this money and take control of my life. And they're really willing to work, man. Coaching coachable people is the most rewarding, fulfilling thing ever. Serving them, it's the best. And so I knew I always wanted to teach and start a team for that reason. But then also starting a team allows me to spend all of my time, most of my time, teaching the agents, and then they go out and crush it, and we all build our business together. And so the team, it was the same thing. I hired one coach to help me build my solo career. I hired another coach to help me build my team, because the reality is, being a great solo producer and being a team leader, these are two different things. I'm talking about recruiting, hiring, systems, training, compliance. It's a whole new skill set. And I was not naive enough to say, well, because I'm a really good solo agent, I'm going to be a great team leader. And I hired the best coach, one of the best coaches in the world at building teams. And again, very challenging. But because I had built my music business and my bodybuilding career and my solo agent career, I knew what I was going through was totally normal. And the ramp up was totally normal. And I said, man, it's not clicking yet, but it will. And I'll be very transparent with you and the listeners, because one thing I'm passionate about is I want to be real about being an entrepreneur. It's not as glamorous as people think it is. Yeah. And so it was months into owning the team. It was costing me a ton of money. We weren't profitable yet, because to be a profitable team leader means that other agents are closing deals. Right. And I was hiring new agents. Yep. And I had a real transparent talk with my coach, and I said, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I get a fat commission check and it goes right out the window, and I'm hemorrhaging money right now. We're not profitable. This is not a productive use of my time. I don't know if I can keep doing this. And he said, Rob, I've had this conversation before. You are literally 3 feet from gold right now. And I'm telling you, in 6 months,
right there, it's right
your
there.
Life is going to look so different. And there is nothing else you can do other than put your head down, keep pushing, keep fighting. Don't look up, but I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And because I, follow my own framework, I trusted in him. And I said, man, he wouldn't be telling me that if it wasn't true. I believe him. And I had faith in his guidance and in myself, and I kept going. 2 months after that, we had our first profitable month, about 20 grand. Month 2, we were about 45 grand. In the third month of being profitable, we had our first $100,000 profit month.
Wow.
And that kind of became the new norm.
Right.
And how many people quit when they're 3 feet from gold?
3 feet, they're right there.
So many people, man.
But that's the benefit of having that mentor sitting by you in your ear about what's happening.
That's right. And so we built the team, and now I like to say we're looking for Navy SEALs, not the Navy. I never served. It's just a phrase I like. But I like quality over quantity, and it's really about the mindset. So we have 10 agents in our company right now. It's going really well. And so I spend my days, I work on my gym time in the morning. I coach my real estate team. I coach agents and entrepreneurs in all industries all over the country. I became the first mindset coach in the marching industry history, working with the Carolina Crown, who's one of the top marching organizations in the world.
Oh, my man. Okay.
And so I just get to teach hungry people all day. I've had my book coming out. I have my real estate sales courses and my marching band business. So it is a lot, but with time management and passion, it's all there. And earlier, Maurice, you asked me, how did I get over that hump? And I think it really comes down to, you have to have a firm understanding of why you want to do what you're doing, because it's not easy, and it could be tempting. So if you look at this poster behind me, it's the success iceberg, and all the things under the water are what people don't see.
Yep.
And they just see what's floating on top. So it's easy to, it's easy for me, who's never met Maurice, to be like, dude, you're a rock star, real estate investor. You've been to hundreds of countries. You got all this stuff going on. I mean, you must have just flipped a switch and became successful, right?
Right. 25-year overnight success. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a why. And one of the things that the woman I was speaking to when we were talking about moving, she said, being an entrepreneur is not easy. And you're going to have days, especially in real estate, where like life is just going to punch you right in the teeth. And when you come home from a day like that, you have to love where you're living.
Yeah, man.
Because if you don't because that's what's going to recharge you to let you do it again the next day.
That's it. And I always talk about lifestyle design. We do. You know what, man? Rob, you just kind of made my point from a lot of the other podcast episodes when I talk with people that one of the goals of working should be you designing a lifestyle you do not need a vacation from. Ooh, I don't take vacations anymore. I just exist. I go. I was in your great state yesterday in Dallas. I'll be in San Antonio tomorrow. I'll be in Andalusia, Spain on Friday. I don't know when I'm coming back, but I've designed my life such that I can operate it wherever I want. It feels good.
Yes.
Now I don't work. I just execute at this point. And when I see you, the way you talk about your life, the way you talk about Katie, the way you talk about your marching band stuff, which I love, by the way, because when you niche down and then niche down into the niche of a business and become an expert at it, you've won from my perspective, especially when it's a passion. You can really design a life, and you are a great, great example of that. And I did want to highlight, for probably the 1,000th time on this podcast, there's not one person who I have met who's had relative success to their own life who's not invested in self-education of some sort.
Yep.
You talked about hiring a mentor or a coach as soon as you got there. I'm sure you did your own level of self-education through books and seminars and things of that nature. I've done that as well. But there does come a point where you have to step it up so you can get from point A to point B faster.
Oh, yeah.
You are a freaking phenomenal example of that.
Oh, thank you.
And you are a mentor. So I am very aware of your Impossible to Fail framework, but maybe you can just touch on that a little bit. And also, please touch on your book just as we're on our way out, because it's something important that people can maybe grab their hands on and support you when the time comes that the book is available.
100%. And thank you very much. So the Impossible to Fail framework, it just occurred to me after building a music business, a bodybuilding career, and 2 real estate companies. None of those things are related to each other. They're not like parallel shifts, right? And so just thinking, when I got together with my marketing team, when we were talking about really the title of the book, and I said, my passion has always just been kind of setting myself up that it's impossible to fail. And they were like, "Ooh, let's roll with that. What does that mean?" And I said, well, I know my work ethic. I know what my work ethic is. And so if I'm failing, it's because I'm not setting myself, there's something missing that from what I'm providing to myself. And so the Impossible to Fail framework is really a simple framework that I've just kind of put a concept to and really created a blueprint for that. When you follow it, literally makes it impossible to fail. So there's a few steps to it, but it starts with getting a blueprint. And I think so many times people in general, entrepreneurs, even if people are going through some personal development, like weight loss or something, They say like, I'll just try to figure it out on my own. And I just think it's nonsense.
Right.
It's nonsense. One of my favorite quotes, actually one of the first quotes in the book, is Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, says, starting a business is like jumping off a cliff and building an airplane on the way down. So if you were literally going to do that, would you rather say, I've never built an airplane, but I'll just figure it out? Or would you say, hey, I'm going to hire someone who's jumped off many cliffs and built many airplanes and hasn't died to help me do this? Exactly. Of course you would choose the second one, but yet when it comes down to practically doing it, the reality is most people don't spend $1 on their education outside of college. And, college, most people will spend high 5 to low 6 figures in student debt and ultimately not make a career out of the thing they go to college for. Yet when they're entrepreneurs and you see a course for $1,000, they're like, I'm not going to do that. Exactly. I'll buy this $1,000 phone instead of go to a $1,000 course that's going to unlock the keys to my future. Yeah. And so the reality is, when you start a business or you want to start a new endeavor, you don't have time to waste. You don't have time, especially if you're starting a business. Don't forget, it's not just about knowing how to make the money. You have to develop the skill set. So for example, when I became a real estate agent, just knowing the script isn't going to get me clients. I have to master it first. And it took me months to get my first clients. And I guarantee you, I had people slipping through my fingers because I had to build my skill set and being able to do that. And so you got to get a blueprint. You got to get a coach. If you can't afford a one-on-one coach, there's YouTube, there's Audible, there's low ticket, $97. I mean, there's no excuse with technology right now not to go to YouTube University and learn as much as you can. So it starts with the blueprint. From that point, the rest of the implementation is really about understanding, number one, how to set accurate goals, how to set specific goals, meaning you got to have a target to aim for, right? So if you were to take the best archer in the world, put a blindfold on him and spin him around 3 times, they're not going to hit anything. So saying, I want to start a business, I want to make more money, like how much, by when? Is it specific? Is it time bound? Can you measure it? Coming up with very specific goals. And then once we do that, I teach people really just the same framework, regardless of any industry. I teach you how to create a schedule, a time block schedule that will allow you to be extremely productive and proactive rather than reacting to everything that happens in your day. And every day I talk to entrepreneurs that feel overwhelmed. And the reality is, feeling overwhelmed is simply a result of reacting to your day instead of being proactive and understanding how to manage your time. Yep. I teach people how to track their progress, how to just track your metrics. So you have a specific time-bound goal. I'm trying to accomplish this by that time. Great. So now we're going to set metrics so that we can, when we're halfway there, are you halfway there? Right? Like, that's right. So we create, and then we teach them how to be accountable. And that's a lot of how, but it's also a lot of why, because being accountable means you have to know your why. You have to get past your fears. You have to take the right actions. And then there's also the logistics of like how to actually do the thing you're trying to do. Oh. So through getting the blueprint, understanding how to set goals, how to be accountable, how to track, how to create metrics, and then eventually how to scale, it's literally impossible to fail if you're willing to execute those things with massive action, relentless, unstoppable consistency, and time. If you do all of those things, it is literally, like, scientifically impossible to fail, because failure is only failure if it's permanent.
True.
Unless you quit, you just keep going. And make no mistake about it, there were times when we moved here and we would do an open house that no one came to, and Katie and I would literally be crying, looking at each other on the couch saying, what the hell did we do? We moved here. I know that. I had a job. Yeah. You had a job. We had health benefits. Oh my God. What are we doing? And we said, no, failure's not an option. We're just going to keep pushing. And we doubled down and we did it. And gang, I'm telling you, if I can do it, if Maurice can do it, you can do it. And the impossible to fail framework is just about giving you that blueprint to help you get there.
I love it. And I go back to the analogy that you gave about jumping off of a cliff and building an airplane on the way down. If you have a framework by which you can do it and it's presented to you, you'll get there way faster. I'll throw something out.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a change in my life from a physical health perspective. I've always been the big dude, former football player type guy, runner type guy, but my weight just kept going up and up and up. And since August, since I hired someone who gave me a framework by which I could eat differently, work out differently, I haven't run in 5 months. I'm down 32 pounds.
Boom. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. And it's not an aesthetic thing. That's not what I was doing. What I was doing was I'm 47 years old. I don't want to be a prisoner of my body when I'm 70. That's my greatest fear. Probably my only fear is being a prisoner of my body when I'm older. But it goes back to having a framework, the way that you talked about having a framework. So I love that impossible to fail framework. Is that the tagline of the book as well? Impossible to fail?
Yep. That is the name of the book. That's the name of my current podcast as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, look, my friends out there in listener land, if you are looking for a coach, if you understand that it is impossible to fail, but you just needed a framework by which you can execute that lifestyle that you're looking for, or that business you wanted to start, or even just revamping your day-to-day, my man Rob right here has an awesome framework for you to take a peek at. Rob, how do folks find you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, easiest way is to check out my YouTube channel. I have all my resources on there. That's simply robstein.tv. That's STEIN. You can also find me on social media. Just enter Rob Stein, Impossible to Fail. You will find me. That's my handle on all the channels. And there's a bunch of great content on YouTube, gang. So even if you're like, man, I can't hire. Well, first of all, you don't even know if you can afford a coach until you ask what it costs. Right. But literally, gang, I have so much great content applicable to people in any industry. Check out the YouTube channel. Check out my content. And if you resonate with it, please reach out. You can shoot me an email at rob@robstein.com. And I really just want to learn how I can help you, because if you want help, I want to give it.
I love it. Well, you've helped me. You've helped my listeners. I appreciate it, brother. It's not only that we have the same haircut, but we definitely have the same attitude towards life.
Yes.
So, it's my pleasure to have you on the show, and I hope to have you back. And I think I'm coming on yours soon too. So
you are, and I greatly look forward to that.
Yeah, man, it'll be great. I love connecting with people like you, man. I'm grateful for what you did, and tell Katie to keep pushing you. I have a feeling she
does. She pushes it, man. I could not do it without her. I really couldn't.
I love that. It's a team sport. It's a family sport.
Yes, it is.
Rob, thanks for coming on. And for everybody else, I appreciate you listening to this episode of the Try Life On podcast. I will see you on the next one. Hey guys, this is Maurice, host of the Try Life On podcast. And thank you for listening to another episode. I hope you are finding it useful and helping you design your own lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. If that's the case, please consider dropping a review for me, whether in Apple, iTunes, or in Spotify. Drop a review, put some stars on it. Give me some feedback on how I can make the podcast better, what information you are looking for. I am doing my best to get information to you on the Try Life On principles, the 5 freedoms, how to build lifestyle, travel hacking, all of it. And I want to do it for you. So please do a review for me. And until next time, my name is Maurice Philogene, and this is the Try Life On podcast. Peace.